Welcome to Film and Page. I'm Dominic, and this is going to be another book hunting video. So in this particular video, for the majority of it, is footage that I shot months ago, but didn't get a chance to use because I got really busy. And then towards the end, it's footage that I shot last week. So instead of scrapping the old footage, I just combined it in with the new stuff. Not only that, stay tuned to the end of the video because I came across something that was really cool related to Star Trek, the original series. So stay tuned to see what that is at the end of the video. So let's get into it. So starting things off in the horror section at Indigo Chapters, and there was something in here that was really cool, I thought, and that is, there was only one of them, an edition of Cycle of the Werewolf. Now I picked this one up a couple years ago. If you ever get the chance to get this book, get it. It is amazing. It's a really good novella and it has fantastic artwork in it. And I reviewed it on my channel a while back. Now, the one thing about the horror section that always drives me up the wall is the amount of Stephen King. There's so much Stephen King, and I understand he's popular, but it doesn't leave a lot of room for anyone else. I don't even call it the horror section. I just call this the Stephen King section because there is so much Stephen King. Now here we are in the manga section. Well, it's the science fiction section now. It used to be the manga section, but they're moving some stuff around. And one thing that kind of caught my eye right off the bat here is this science fiction anthology. Now, if you're looking to get into science fiction and you don't know where to start and you just want to get your feet wet, pick up a good anthology book. It'll give you a wide range of stories and there will be a lot of hidden gems in there. The ones I used to buy all the time were called the year's best science fiction. Well, actually, I still buy them whenever I can find them. And they used to be edited by Gardner Dozois. And they went for like 34 volumes. But Gardner Dozois passed away a few years back, so they don't make them anymore, unfortunately. And here is a new hardcover edition of Leviathan Wakes. Now, if you missed out on the original hardcovers for this series, they're doing all the Expanse books like this now. So I have this first one, and I thought this was just going to be a one-off, but they're doing them all like this now. So this is a great way to get that series in hardcover if you missed out on the original hardcovers that came out in that series and you only have them in softcover. And we've got some High Republic on the top shelf. And the cover of that book actually caught my eye. I wanted to take a closer look at it. That's some pretty cool cover art. I have to give credit where credit is due. Now, I'm not a fan of Disney Star Wars. A few things here and there, but I'm more of a fan of Star Wars before Disney bought it, if that makes any sense. But I'm sure there are some hidden gems in the books that are being put out by Disney. But I'm more of an EU fan, the expanded universe before Disney canceled all Star Wars Legends, as it's called now. Scanning more of the science fiction section, and there's a copy of Snow Crash. I have that book, not that particular one, but I have a copy of Snow Crash that I have yet to read, but I'm going to get around to it someday. Now, there's one science fiction series that has really caught my attention, and I have copies of it on my Kindle library, but I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. And this is the first book in the series, Children of Time, by I believe it's Adrian Tarkovsky. Now, I've watched some videos about this series, and it sounds really fascinating, so I have to get around to reading it someday. So now we're getting into some media tie-in books. Here's some Marvel stuff, Halo, Firefly, Doctor Who, and more Marvel. And then here's some Star Trek Picard. And now here's some more Star Wars. Now, this is the new look they got going for, Star Wars Legends, which I gotta say I'm not a fan of. Now, I actually have Star Wars Kenobi, and when I bought it, I bought the original paperback version of it, and it looked a lot better. The artwork was a lot better than what they're doing for Star Wars Legends now. Now, this is a pet peeve I have, is when they change the look of books and they redo the artwork. The newer artwork almost never is better than the original artwork they had for a book, for some reason. Why it's like that, I don't know. And now we're starting to drift over into the Dune section of sci-fi. And here's one of the newer books by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. Not a bad looking cover, but I have to say I'm having a really hard time getting back on that whole Brian Herbert, Kevin J. Anderson train. I just can't do it. Like, it just seems like they're just putting out a lot of mediocre stuff. Here's a newer version of Dune with a photograph. I believe that's the cover of Dune Part 2 that they're using there, that image. It's a nice image though, it's straightforward to the point. I actually like it. And we got more Dune. And here we are with a new hardcover edition of Children of Dune. I actually like that. That's a nice book. I have that book, a copy of this one. They're really nice. If you're looking to get new hardcover editions of the first 3 original Dune books, these ones are great ones to pick up. They're really nice. And they also did Dune Messiah. I have that one as well. Now that looks like Timothée Chalamet on that throne. I'm guessing they took inspiration from the new film for sure for this cover. For sure they did. But another nice edition of Dune Messiah if you don't have Dune Messiah in hardcover. So you can tell Dune is popular again. They got a lot of editions of Dune on the shelf. And here we are in the manga section. And at this store they actually have a lot of manga. There's lots to choose from here. And one of the things I actually picked up from this section a few years back that was really cool was a Ghost in the Shell hardcover. That was a really nice addition. I was a huge fan of the animated movie for that came out. I believe that was in the 90s. But my favorite manga that they have recently re-released in hardcover, I've been picking up from this store, and that's Fist of the North Star. How I got into that was through the animated movie that came out back in, well, it actually came out, I think, in the 80s, but I got to see it in the 90s, and I rewatched it like countless times. And then they actually had the series on Crunchyroll about 10 years ago, all 6 seasons of it, so I watched it there. So these are the hardcover re-releases for the Fist of the North Star manga. And I only got maybe a couple of issues of Fist of the North Star back in the 90s, but these are really nice additions. Great artwork, awesome covers, just really nice to look at. And I haven't really dug in to start reading these yet, but I'm not sure how many volumes they're going to be released, but I think they're up to 12 or 13 right now. Now here we are at the Value Village, and again in the horror section, or the Dean Koontz Stephen King section. This book did catch my eye though, this Dark Woods. The cover looked really cool, and it looks like it's a horror novel that revolves around the legend of Bigfoot. Now, I've always had a passing interest in Bigfoot. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, watched a few documentaries about it here and there, so I'm a bit of a Bigfoot fan. So this was a book I took note of. I almost picked this one up, but I just took note of it in my head, and I'll look it up online, see if I can get it for my Kindle at some point down the road, but it did look pretty interesting. Now, even when you go to the used bookstores, Stephen King, there's so many copies of his books. Same thing with Dean Koontz. And I think it kind of, I guess it kind of bugs me, but because I wish there was more other authors that I like Bentley Little and stuff, instead of those guys. But the other thing about it is he's too easy to collect, because his books are everywhere, unless you're collecting first printings or something. Where Bentley Little, his books are more rare, so it's more of a treat when you come across them. But like Stephen King, if you're collecting Stephen King and you're just looking for paperbacks, he's easy to collect. And here's another Star Trek book, Star Trek Typhon Expanse. That's another thing at Value Village you could wear Goodwill. If you're into Star Trek and Star Wars books, there are so many of them here. So many. Every time I come in there, there's always new ones coming and going in these places, and you can get some pretty good ones here too. And here is a copy of Red Mars. I actually have this book. This is a fantastic cover. Again, they have a newer softcover edition of this book, or paperback version of this book, and of this whole trilogy. But the cover artwork is just horrible. It's so lazy. So if you ever get a chance to get the one you just saw that I showed, get that version, because the artwork is just so much better. It's really amazing. Now, speaking of Star Wars, coming up, I found a hardcover edition of Shadows of the Empire. And this is a Star Wars book I wanted to read for so long. And then when I finally got around to reading it, I have to admit, I was a little bit disappointed. I had hyped it up so much in my head that when I got around to actually reading it, it was still good, but I had read a lot of better Star Wars books than that one. So this is the new footage that I took from last week at Value Village. Now, there was a book that caught my eye right away, and I scooped it even before I started filming. I was here a few nights before I filmed this, and there were probably about 10 books. They were a vampire series of books by an author named Brian Lumley. And I didn't know anything about the author, don't know anything about the series, but the artwork looked really cool, so I knew it was something not to leave behind, so I just scooped up all 10. And then when I came back this night to make this video, I found this 11th book in the series, just mixed in with science fiction stuff. But amazing artwork on the cover, and I'm gonna have to look into it, but it was just something I didn't want to leave behind. And also I saw this book here. Now, Shadow Moon. Now, this is a trilogy of fantasy novels. Now, I actually have this book, and I have the last book in the trilogy. I'm always on the lookout for the middle book, but is actually a sequel to the movie Willow. I think it was a trilogy of books that came out, I believe, back in the 1990s. So I'm always on the lookout for the middle book. Now, the other thing that caught my eye here are these Battlestar Galactica books. This one here, The Cylon's Secret. So I only have one Battlestar Galactica book, and that is the novelization of the miniseries from, I think, 2002 miniseries. And it was actually pretty good. It was a pretty good adaptation, even for a book that's based on something I had already seen. When I read it, it was actually pretty good and kind of gave you a few insights that the series didn't. So I grabbed that one. I wasn't going to leave that one behind. And there was a second Battlestar Galactica book that I picked up also because Battlestar Galactica, here's the other one, Battlestar Galactica Unity. So this is the second one I grabbed. I didn't leave this one behind either. Now, it looked like they had more than what they actually had, but there were a few doubles. But Battlestar Galactica is something that it doesn't have as much merchandise out there as Star Wars and Star Trek. So it's kind of a treat to come across something like that in the wild. So since I did, I grabbed it right away. And just a quick look at the horror section, and lots of Stephen King and Dean Koontz again. And now that gap, that is where those 10 vampire books were that I scooped up. But yeah, if you're into Stephen King, this is like a gold mine. There is no challenge to collecting him. He's very plentiful. Now, this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the video. This was the piece of Star Trek merchandise that was tied to the original series that I found, and it is original series episodes on VHS, and these were through Columbia House. And now how this would work, this would be a subscription service. So every few weeks you would get a new VHS tape in the mail with 2 episodes on it, and they weren't released in air date order. You got them in star date order. So that's how they sent them out. They ordered them by star date, the star date of the episodes, which I thought was kind of cool. But I was almost on my way out of the Value Village, and I just swung through the movies and saw this, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. And I was tempted to scoop this up because they were in really good shape. And I checked the tapes. The tapes were really good, and it was just a cool find, but I ended up passing on it. I didn't get it, but still an awesome thing to see out in the wild. Star Trek the Original Series from Columbia House. So some interesting finds on this trip out, and I have to say those Star Trek VHS tapes were pretty cool to come across out there in the wild. So that's everything I have to say in this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I will see you at the next one. I'd like to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I appreciate you all in helping this channel grow. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded.